Yo, what's up guys? Michael here from DMP Authority, and I hope you're having an amazing day. In the previous video, we began to take a look at the principles of synthesis, generating sounds using waveforms and then manipulating them using volume envelopes. In this video, we're going to continue covering modulation tools and get our hands dirty, this time with filters. Technically, we should have covered filters first, but in the interests of keeping this course far more engaging and interesting, we're going to apply our knowledge of envelopes from the previous video in order to mess around with our filters a little bit more than we would have been able to. And in doing so, we'll learn how to create a Deadmau5 kind of plucky synth line using some chords he actually wrote himself. So without further ado, let's get started. Filters are found everywhere in music production, and there probably won't be a day that goes by that you won't use one. So understanding filters in synthesis is a massive addition to your production skills. Right, so firstly let's identify some filter sections. Looking at our trusty synthesizer Helm, we have our filter section here along with controls common to most filters such as the filter type, the cutoff point, resonance and filter slope. In Ableton's operator, we can find it here. Today we're going to deal with pass filters, which completely remove unwanted frequencies, or to think of it another way, only allow certain frequencies to pass through. They are very dramatic in nature as they completely remove certain frequencies, whereas the other category of filters are shelf filters, which reduce rather than completely cut specified frequencies. So as you may already know, if we take a look at the frequency spectrum, we have all the bassy, lower end kind of frequencies represented on the left, and the higher frequencies increasing towards the right. Now, what's key for a filter is a cutoff point, and this cutoff point allows us to specify or define where our frequency filter will start filtering from. And we're able to define these points and start filtering using different kinds of filters. These different kinds are defined as low pass, high pass, band pass, notch, or band stop filters. The most common and widely used type of filter to the synthesizer being the low pass filter, and this is because the geometric waveforms generated by synthesizers are so bright and so harsh, we need to remove the high end drastically. So the low pass filter becomes the most important filter, so much so that if you just say the filter, everyone knows that's what you're talking about. Now if I'm wanting to create a bassy sounding synth, I can use this low pass filter to cut out all of the higher end information I don't need and let the lower bassy stuff pass through. The same goes for high pass filters, but just the other way around. They're designed to cut out the lower end frequencies and help us isolate higher frequencies, letting them through. Bandpass filters allow for frequencies to pass between two cutoff points, and this is quite useful when we're creating, for example, white noise sweeps. Notch filters, sometimes referred to as band stop filters, allow us to cut out frequencies between 2 points, letting through frequencies on either side of the cutoff points. This is very useful when we are looking to isolate a very specific frequency and remove it. Filters also have a steepness or a slope, which determines how abrupt or gentle the cutoff is. It's measured in how many decibels per octave it will cut by. So the greater the decibel per octave, the more dramatic the cutoff. you'll usually see it specified as 12 dB or 24 dB, sometimes more. And the final important component of a filter that you'll want to be aware of is resonance. The filters we find in synthesizers tend to be resonance filters. Now, resonance is a narrow band around the cutoff which is amplified, producing an interesting phaser-like effect. As you can hear and see, resonance boosts the frequencies around the cutoff, and the more you play around with resonance, the more you'll become familiar with the kind of effect that it has on a sound, and you'll actually be able to identify it when it's used in songs. And typically it'll sound like it's never static, rather it's constantly moving or sweeping along with your cutoff point. So we can see the sound of the filter becomes a very important aspect of synthesis. Some even consider it to be the most important aspect of synthesis. Now, filters don't only have to be static. We can get really creative with them. So let's get to what we've all been waiting for and combine what we know about filters with what we've learned about envelopes. Now, we know from the previous video, envelopes shape parameters over time from when a note is pressed, so let's use this principle to modulate the cutoff of a low-pass filter. And this is a technique Deadmau5 uses for some of his signature stabby, plucky synth sounds. So firstly, what we have here is a piano playing a chord progression Deadmau5 created and then binned it during one of his live streams. From that, I've created an arpeggio which follows the exact chord progression by playing one note after each other in quick succession, 16th to be exact, instead of all the notes forming a chord on top of each other. It's this arpeggio that we're now going to design a modulating synth line for. Essentially, I want to create a long evolving build-up before I drop. So let's start off by generating some sound, and we'll begin with a simple sawtooth wave, giving it a little width by adding some unison and detuning. And what this means by adding unison or voices, I'm creating multiple versions of this sawtooth wave. Then by cranking up the unison detuning level, I'm slightly detuning each copy or voice relative to each other. This begins to give us the impression of stereo width. The next thing I want to do is modulate the cutoff point of the low-pass filter so that each time the note is pressed, it will open up and close really quickly, giving us a plucky sound. Picturing it slowly, it will be doing something like this. So then as the track progresses, we can then slowly open up the filter while it's still opening and closing really quickly by increasing the cutoff point so the sound gets brighter and brighter and brighter before the drop. The first step is to assign the filter envelope to the cutoff. Now, not every synthesizer handles assignments of modulators to controls in the same way, but the core principle to remember when making these assignments is these three things. The source, or the modulator, in this case the envelope, the destination, that's the thing we're modulating, and in this case it's the cutoff point, and then the amount, how much we're wanting the cutoff point to move. In Helm, we just select the source by clicking the helmet icon of the modulator, and then you can see everything that can be modulated is highlighted in green. So now we choose the destination, in our case the cutoff point control, and the amount is determined by dragging the cutoff to the desired amount. Then to complete the assignment, just click the helmet icon again. And if we want to remove this assignment, you can just right-click the helmet and select disconnect. So now that we've set up our modulation of the cutoff point using an envelope, we can just configure our envelope to open and close really quickly. And for this configuration, we can give it a really tiny attack, just to exclude any pesky clicks, and a short delay, no sustain, and then a short release. Now, to finish off our sound, all we need to do is open up the filter with some automation as the track progresses. Next, all I want to do is just add another layer just to give it some more texture and create more of a Deadmau5 signature kind of sound. I want to create something that almost sits in between the piano and the plucky sawtooth. What we can do here is then duplicate the classic sound we've just created, and instead of using the very fast arpeggio and plucks, this time we can use the same chords from the piano and then slow down our envelope that's modulating the filter. So instead of having that very quick and fast kind of opening and closing around the plucks, this synthesizer is going to have a slow rising kind of feeling that makes it feel like it's rising or emerging from the piano itself. Finally, to give it some more movement, let's slap on a ping pong delay on the arpeggio, which will automate the dry wet mix as the drop approaches, especially in the final 4 bars, allowing the arpeggio track to bounce around and create a state of intensity and anticipation for your epic drop that you're about to blow away everyone with. And to top it off, let's just add some reverb, creating and giving that impression of size. Job done. So that's quick and easy modulation of sawtooth waves, and you can really see how something that is very quick and easy to do can have such an amazing, interesting and intense effect. Now, in the next and final segment of this course, we're going to take a look at how to make our sounds wobble to create this epic moving beast. Not only very prominent in the likes of future bass and drum and bass and dubstep, but also very important in creating subtle movement to make any kind of music you're producing sound way more professional. Guys, I hope this segment was super informative and helpful in developing your production skills and knowledge. Have an awesome day and catch you in the next one.